Oh, you know we are about to go in. Happy Saturday. How are you? Sadly, I couldn't be here yesterday on Friday, but I have an episode lined up for you today. We are going to talk about Megyn Kelly. We are going to talk about Perez Hilton. We are going to go over Popcorn Planet. We are going to talk about Instagram and lying. We are going to talk about all of it. We're going to talk about the deposition and the Steve Sarowitz comments. We're going to talk about all the new court filings and also Blake Lively subpoenaing private investigators. OMG. This is the court of It Ends With Never. Grab your emotional support lip gloss. We are going in. You are in frame with Mandy Magnan. Where to even start, honestly, because the mess that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are creating for themselves, I mean, it's getting out of control. It's just getting out of control. And before we go into it, I want to just make everyone aware, and just a little reminder, because I know y'all know already, but just a little reminder that Ryan Reynolds is a genius, or so he thinks, at PR, social media, spinning stories, etc., etc., etc. So this is nuts. As it was heard to anyone following this case, that Megyn Kelly, the Megyn Kelly Show, did receive a subpoena by Blake Lively. Now, she didn't talk about it throughout the hearing. She didn't talk about it when she was filing to get dismissed. Nothing like that, to get the subpoena quashed, I should say. You didn't hear about it. But then when it was over, yes, Megyn Kelly came on and she had some things to say. And it's kind of like echoing everything that we have been saying. We don't need to get paid to not like you, Blake. We don't need to get paid to report on public court filings. We don't need to get paid by anybody, including Justin Baldoni and Brian Freeman, to just look at your own actions and your own words and choose, meh, no thank you, right? No, thank you. Well, now Blake Lively has come out and made a statement saying that she never subpoenaed Megyn Kelly. Why are you lying? And it's not even lying. They're just twisting the truth a little bit. Okay, but all of the headlines read Blake Lively denies ever subpoenaing Megyn Kelly. So that's the headline that people are going to see. But then when you read the article, oh my gosh, let's just pull it up. Like People's headline is Blake Lively denies subpoenaing Megyn Kelly in Justin Baldoni case after Kelly rants about terrible actress. Megyn Kelly claimed that she and her Sirius XM show received a subpoena for confidential and proprietary materials related to her coverage of Blake Lively. Then there's some quotes here of what you need to know. And the second bullet point is, at no point in this litigation has Miss Lively served a subpoena on Megyn Kelly. Lively's spokesperson said in a statement on August 29th, that being Friday. Okay, so at no point. And it says Blake Lively's spokesperson is denying Megyn Kelly's claims that Lively's legal team issued a subpoena to Kelly amid the ongoing legal battle with Justin Baldoni. Then they talk about how she was ranting and raving and ranting about Blake Lively. Then the kicker, after all of this, after everything that Megyn Kelly said, which is very important, that she says she actually thinks I needed to get paid by Baldoni's team to say negative things about her. Newsflash, Blake, I came to those conclusions totally organically. It was you. It was all you who made me unable to stand you. No man had anything to do with it. And then you keep scrolling down and here it is. Dateline reported that while Lively's legal team did not directly subpoena Kelly and her show, they did subpoena Red Seat Ventures, a company that has provided sales support, production, distribution, and marketing, branding, and sales services for content creators like Kelly. Miss Lively is continuing to pursue discovery in order to prove her case that Justin Baldoni, Jed Wallace, Melissa Nathan, and the Wayfair parties retaliated against her for speaking up against the harassment she and others experienced on set. As alleged in her complaint, Lively's team said in the statement, adding that seeking evidence through discovery is a normal part of the litigation process. Oh, is that a statement from Lively's team to PR, to people? Interesting. It's literally like saying, oh, we didn't subpoena content creators, we subpoenaed Google. Oh, we didn't subpoena TikTok creators, we subpoenaed TikTok. Are you okay? You were better not saying anything in this case. You now, I mean, calling Megyn Kelly out and calling her pretty much a liar. Oh gosh, I don't know how this is gonna work out for you, but it's not gonna be good. And before we get into this Ryan Reynolds birthday thing, which is wild, let's just see exactly what's happening in PR when it comes to Blake Lively and when it comes to Ryan Reynolds, because he is clearly causing a distraction, number one, as well as separating himself from Blake Lively at this moment. What an amazing husband. When you Google just Blake Lively, everything still comes up. Megyn Kelly, Justin Baldoni, it's all Megyn Kelly right now, Taylor Swift, etc., etc., etc. It's still all about the lawsuit, all about her friendship with Taylor Swift, and now a lot about Megyn Kelly. And I want you to keep in mind this India Times, where it says Ryan Reynolds shares pic with wife Blake Lively amidst divorce rumors, I guess it says. Oh yeah, he shares a touching tribute. Okay. And now here it is when you look up Ryan Reynolds. It's all about Wrexham, his mom, his farewell, his team. Yeah, and then there's this. Ryan Reynolds sparks split rumor after Blake Lively birthday snub. Which is exactly what I want to get into next, because for years, I think it was like 10 years or something, every year on Blake Lively's birthday, her husband, Ryan Reynolds, so kindly and so sweet of him, took that opportunity, her special day, to mock, belittle, and insult her, and even compare her to some of her girlfriends. I'm not making it up. I've done a video on it. I've done many videos on their relationship when I was doing deep dives. Here's a little snippet of one of those videos, which I will also put in the description if you want to see it. For his friend, for his birthday, Blake reposted it, but she just didn't repost the video to be like, hey buddy, happy birthday too from the both of us. She reposted it to be like, can't wait for my birthday. Can't wait for my birthday. So like an amazing husband, what did he do on her birthday? He posted about Mariah Carey and then posted about Gigi Hadid. But then also on that post wrote, I think you and I make a much better couple. What? Isn't that like her bestie? That's so gross. It doesn't stop there. But now this year, and just, like, let's just backtrack, okay? First of all, we know, Blake, you didn't concoct this plan all by yourself, okay? We know you didn't use Van Zandt by yourself. We know about the 17-point demand wasn't all by yourself. Your husband had everything to do with it. He was looking at the dailies. He was completely annihilating your director, even in pre-production. He was yelling at Justin Baldoni, as well as, let's not forget the January 4th meeting, okay, where Todd Black, a producer of over 30 plus years, said that he has never seen anything like that before and wanted to leave the project. Yeah, I mean, he's been in charge this whole time, right? He took over Maximum Effort. He took over the movie. He really has been driving this whole thing, and I believe he's fully the one that led the Van Zandt sham subpoena with the fake lawsuit that y'all created in order to get illegally obtained text messages. Yeah. So you're telling me that for over a decade on your birthday, he took this chance to belittle and humiliate you and insult you. Ha ha, fun, key, yeah. But then this year, he doesn't do nothing. He doesn't write a post. He doesn't make a story. He doesn't acknowledge your birthday whatsoever. I mean, embarrassing. It's almost like if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. So what? Because he couldn't like mock you and, you know, be really rude to you on your birthday, he just chose to ignore it? Maybe that could be, but obviously I think you guys talked about this, and I think that this is a whole cover up so people would be talking about how he didn't talk about your birthday instead of looking at what is actually happening here in the court filings, as well as Van Zandt. I am never going to forget that until we get answers on the Van Zandt fake lawsuit and sham subpoena. However, I do think it's weird that instead of just saying something nice about you and acknowledging you on your birthday, maybe starting a new trend where he actually, I don't know, respects you and shows you kindness and love, like a nice supporting husband, he could have done something. But to do nothing is weird. And I think, I don't know, it seems like maybe it was done on purpose, but also it's weird. It's weird. Whether it's done on purpose or not, to not even acknowledge your birthday, but then days later, this is his next post. And of course, the thumbnail picture he used is, you know, with kids, I'm a good family man, I'm a buddy, I'm everyone's best friend. Gut punch, Ollie is a reason we're in this league today. So this is all about his player, his star player that's leaving. But was interesting, and Ashley, if you don't follow Ashley, she's huge on PR and breaks it all down like PR style. She noticed that this was edited, the caption, and at first, let me get down to it, the PS wasn't there. Okay, so an hour after he put this PS, and it's worth taking a look at because you know Ryan Reynolds and you know he thinks he's so smart with all these Easter eggs. And it says, for the love of all that's holy, do not tell my mom her boyfriend is changing shirts. Tam Tam is unpredictable. Sweden can expect her to storm the pitch to provide fresh orange slices to Ollie without warning. She's 80 years old, but homegirl is strong. Despite it making no sense at all, she just now qualified for the 1988 Olympics. We suspect she's on something a little stronger than calcium supplements. Her birthday card to Hugh Jackman said, "Do you even lift, bro?" That's it. Not even happy birthday. So once again, he's bringing his mom into this. Okay, now his mom also has another birthday. If we remember the sweaters video where he had his mom come out with Hugh Jackman, okay, to do PR for It Ends With Us, where Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman, and their mom, his mom, was not involved in that movie whatsoever. And then to say the card, "Do you even lift, bro?" That's it. Not even happy birthday. So I think the "Do you even lift, bro" has to do with Justin Baldoni. And I also think that not even happy birthday is definitely for Blake Lively. Because let's not forget this Instagram post that Blake Lively did on Justin Baldoni. Her comment when he was working out and he was lifting and she's like, "Amazing, now try it pregnant." And he just wrote, "You win." Like every time that she tried to take jabs and stunts at him, he's like, yeah, you win. Not getting involved. You win. Or this Instagram post from Blake Lively when she wrote, "BRB, I'm buying Milky pens to write your name on my hand." Then it says, "My Y2K girlies, I should be competitive because At It Ends With movie is coming out in 3 weeks. But when your middle school obsessions, your feelings post-baby, or about how nice men use feminism as a tool, your love of the Wizard of Oz, Succession, sanity, it's hard not to encourage my lady spot all the ways we've influenced the Deadpool movie. I've been more proud. I've never been more proud, and I've given birth 4 times." How did you really influence the movie? Because, I mean, you didn't even put the lady pool suit on. No offense. You just did the voice. Your own husband didn't even want you in the movie playing Lady Pool. But I digress, and I could pull up way more social media posts from Ryan as well as Blake that have all of these little Easter eggs in them. And I think that this is them trying to get all of us, of course it's working in all of the headlines, to talk more about how Ryan snubbed her on her birthday than it is to focus on all of the things happening, all of the subpoenas from the content creators, Van Zandt, them trying to subpoena now the private investigative firm. It's absolutely wild. But all of this shows me, honestly, is all of their little games at social media, if I'm being so freaking for real, is they're both mean girls. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively are the meanest of mean girls. Because even for the Taylor Swift thing, right? It was reported, of course, Taylor Swift announced her engagement the day after Blake Lively's birthday. Meh, shady, right? But when you're best friends with someone 10 years, they are godmother to your children, Blake ignoring Taylor Swift engagement, I think was a huge mistake, because it just shows how petty and how mean you are, and how the friendship really didn't mean that much to you. Because if you have a best friend, like a ride or die, you're going to go through ups and downs. There's going to be times where you're not talking. You're going to get in tussles. You're going to have arguments, okay? That just happens. But if it was me and already I was like, my best friend and I weren't talking, it was public, it was this, all she had to do was repost it to her story and say, congrats, love you always, or something like that. But you did nothing. You completely ignored it, which tells me like you're so bitter and you're so angry that you can't even still celebrate the success of your best friend, because you're mean. You're just mean in your heart. That just shows me everything I need to see about the type of people that they are, because celebrity or not, like that was supposed to be your bestie, your ride or die, you know what I mean? That could have been a really good way for Blake to kind of like raise a little bit of a white flag to Taylor Swift and to the Swifties, like, hey, still love you. Like, just leave it at that, you know? Leave it as an Instagram story. Like, the only time you ever spoke about DV during the It Ends With Us on social media is when you posted a story that expired after 24 hours, after you got so much slack about your PR disaster, Blake Lively. You posted a story about DV. Wow. But I think they are just destroying themselves with all of these lies and all of this bad PR. It's bad, 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 bad. And truly, like, when are you going to realize, if not now with Candace Owens, with Perez Hilton, with Megyn Kelly, with all of us telling you, we didn't get paid for nothing. It was you. It was your own actions, you and your husband. And what I think, honestly, what they do is Blake and Ryan like to give you little carrots to look at, and they think, oh, look, let me look over here. Well, all of this other stuff is happening over here for you not to look at. I've said it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. But what their biggest mistake is, and I truly think like that, I truly believe it, and I think they underestimated their fan base and the love. They thought it was like, you know, unwavering love with them. It was unconditional. And if they brought Hugh Jackman in, they'll get all of the other, you know, the MCUs. And that's it. That's all they need to promote It Ends With Us is Blake Lively, Ryan Reynolds, and Hugh Jackman. And if they do that, no one will be worried about Justin Baldoni or Wayfair, and they could just go and keep them in basements and take over the movie, and no one will ask any questions because, oh my God, look, Hugh Jackman, look, Ryan Reynolds is here, look, Blake Lively, you guys love us, right? You guys love us. We're Hollywood superstars. Don't worry about the little guy. Don't worry about Justin Baldoni. He's in a basement, locked away. Look at us. Look at us. But were they absolutely wrong? And people had questions. People were wondering where the director was. People were wondering why Blake Lively was able to be at Book Bonanza and steal the movie and show it, even in her own words, that she said Sony told her not to. People were mad at the PR that Blake and Ryan were doing for the movie. And they weren't able to pivot. They weren't able to change. Instead, they met it with more Betty Boos and more hair care launches and more sarcasm and jokes. Even the whole sweater PR that they did, where they literally had Ryan Reynolds come out and play a jealous husband during a movie that has to do with it, like DV. That's what people were mad at. They were mad more about their own actions, Ryan and Blake's own words, own actions, everything they kept doing, bringing out Britney Spears' dress. What? First of all, telling everyone how Ryan Reynolds wrote the iconic rooftop scene when there was a woman writer doing it. Talking about your fashion and your rings and your shoes. mocking survivors when you were asked how can they reach out with you, what would be the most appropriate way that they can thank you and share their story, and you made a joke? Oh yeah, you can location share. Da, da, da. That's why people had a problem. And it would have all went away if you would have just gone away, came out with another simple favor, and just did your own thing. But now you're going on about how they started a retaliation campaign because you complained about SH. When were the complaints in August made? And nothing, none. You didn't give a care about no SH, about no DV, about nothing. All you cared about was the glitz and glamour and red carpet and how this was going to be your moment. But this wasn't your moment. This was a moment for everyone on that film, including Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, and the entire crew and cast of It Ends With Us. But you took that over and you made a mockery out of it. Plain and simple. And people weren't messing with it. And it went viral. Your moments, your words, your past, your actions went viral. No lies were told. And we're moving on. Let's keep this train rolling. Perez Hilton. Perez Hilton had a roller coaster of a day as he went into the court in Nevada to try to fight the motion to have his subpoena quashed in the district that is appropriate for him, since he lives in Nevada, works in Nevada, does everything from Nevada, and the subpoena actually says that's the proper district. So after going back and forth in the court, he realized that the court was only there to see if they should transfer, which is what happened in California. In California, too, against the opposing counsel, Brian Freeman's law firm, it was transferred to the Southern District of New York because it's like Judge Lyman is already kind of ruling on it. So the judge said, if Judge Lyman wants jurisdiction over you, I'm going to grant it. So he left the court thinking, well, Judge Lyman and him, it's over, right? It's over. But in a surprising twist of events and something so amazing, Judge Lyman came back and said, the court accordingly holds that it lacks personal jurisdiction over Lavandria with respect to the subpoena. Lively's motion to compel is thus denied without prejudice for the lack of personal jurisdiction. Yes. Congratulations, Perez Hilton. Now he will be going back to the courts of Nevada next week to finally fight this sham subpoena, trying to get his... the things they're asking for is absolutely nuts. No content creator, no journalist, nobody would ever give up the things that they want. They want draft emails, notes, resources, even things that you don't post, that you haven't posted. I mean, get out of here. It's absolutely crazy, but I am so happy for this. And I loved Perez walking into the court yesterday. My gosh. He was wearing his florals, and check it out. The emotional support lip gloss. Guys, I'm not making that up. It is a real thing. Yes, Perez! And the media that was there covering it, okay, the news anchors that were there covering it, and all the people supporting him, thank you. But that wasn't the only order that Judge Lyman came out with this week or yesterday. There was also one with Jed Wallace. Now, man, honestly, poor Jed Wallace, because this guy is trying his damnedest to get out of here, okay? His damnedest to get out of here. And now he's saying the judge came back. It's pretty much a big win for Blake Lively. Regardless of if he gets dismissed or not, he's going to have to show all of the stuff. And the one thing that I just can't get behind and do not agree with is Jed Wallace having to turn over his entire client base. I do not like that, but of course they were arguing about it. Lively argues that she is entitled to a responsive interrogatory number 13 on the basis of this court's order of July 7th, which requires street relations to identify their clients. In particular, she argues that evidence regarding street relations activities on behalf of other clients would be probative of its conduct on behalf of the Wayfarer parties. She further argues that the Wallace defendants' response to interrogatory number 14 improperly narrows its base on date range, subject, and conduct, and that the response is implausible in light of evidence in the case in which Mr. Wallace and others refer to his team and to platform-specific specialists working with him. Now listen. Everyone uses my team or let's do it or we're here. I mean, I do it all the time when I'm replying to anything that has to do with my business. But I'm a one woman team. As embarrassing as that is to say, not really. I mean, that's just the way it is. So if Jed was working alone and he was just saying, yeah, the team, we're on it. I mean, he is paying these people a large sum of money. So it's just a little bit more professional when you're answering to things to, say the team or I'll check with the team. He is going to have to give over, however, his client list. And I think that is ridiculous because you don't want that in the hands of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Hopefully, I don't know, he's able to do like attorney eyes only on some of this stuff because up until this date, they still can't prove anything. It goes on to say that the Wallace defendants misunderstood the court's July 7th order. That order denied the Wallace defendants' motion for a protective order against having to disclose the names of their clients beyond those reflective in Lively's complaint in this case. The court denied that request and hereby required the Wallace defendants to disclose the identities of their clients. The court reasoned that the identities of the clients could lead to information bearing on the issues in this case, that Lively was entitled to test for herself whether the digital footprints of other clients have similarities to the work of street relations is alleged to have done here, and that the Wallace defendants' privacy concerns could be addressed by the court's standing protective order regarding the disclosure of confidential materials. The Wallace defendants did not seek reconsideration of that order and do not offer any persuasive reasons why the order, which was directed to a 30B deposition, would not apply equally to the presumably simpler task of compiling an interrogatory response. So Jed was like, look, I'll do my deposition. I'll answer all the questions you want. I'll do everything, but I am not turning over my client list. And I don't think he should have. It is not like I've never seen anyone go to trial to these lengths without any proof. She's finding it as she goes and still has nothing. It's so bizarre. They do get into like the signal messages. So she's really trying hard to get all of his signal messages, to which Jed Wallace was like, they delete by themselves. I do not have what you're asking for. You know that they delete by themselves. I'm telling you they delete by themselves. I can't give you these messages that you're asking for. The judge did say a responding party who denies that document exists cannot be compelled to produce them unless the discovery party makes an adequate showing to overcome the assertion. So if you have any proof that he has any of these signal messages, revisit it. But as of right now, the court therefore denies her request for those materials. So, I mean, he won that one, I suppose. And for the request for product, for documents including formal, informal engagement agreements sufficient to show when and in what capacity the Wallace defendants worked with Brian Freeman, Liner, Friedman, Tailman, or anyone acting on their behalf, and in what capacity, plus the nature of the engagement and what the Wallace defendants was retained to do, as well as all documents and communications between you and any Wayfarer defendant, Brian Freeman, Liner, Friedman, Tailman, anyone acting on their behalf from December 1st to 2023 to the present concerning efforts to seed, influence, manipulate, boost, amplify, or engage with social media algorithms, narratives, or virality, as well as the use of bots or inauthentic accounts. So the Wallace defendants have not provided position to those RFPs. The Wallace defendants are directed to provide a response to those requests no later than September 5th. The good news is Judge Lyman also came back with an order and response, a memorandum in order to the motion to compel for the Wayfarer people. And even though it does say it's like denied in part and granted in part, it's pretty much granted in part. I mean, the things he's letting Blake Lively get, so unopposed uncontested wins for Blake Lively here. I'm just going to read them off in my notes. It says that they get to get documents from the amended complaint. So anything that the Wayfair people put in their amended complaint to Miss Lively, even though that's been dismissed, they have to turn it up. And that includes the birthing video, which is a very strange thing to fight for because the birthing video is literally on Jamie Heath's Instagram. So, I mean, it's public, like you can see it, but whatever. Unopposed is communications with Jed Wallace and street relations, including all of the payment records, phone records from BALDONI, Jamie Heath, Steve Sarowitz, Melissa Nathan, and Jennifer Abel. So all of their phone records, personnel and HR policies. So all of their policies about sexual harassment training, HR complaints, etc. So even if they're not sexual HR complaints, which is strange because I believe usually they're not allowed to request any other complaints that are outside of the scope of what they're asking for, but I'm not the judge here. Blake Lively also won pre-lawsuit communications with Brian Freeman. So any communications pre-lawsuit, which includes, so that would be on December 31st when they dropped their first lawsuit. That's nuts. Documents related to Blake Lively's CRD complaint. So her 17-point condition list, the timeline document, and related communications. So anything that they put in that timeline, or anything that has to do with the 17 points communications. They also want the mixed audio and video files from the film footage. So I guess they didn't get all of the film footage. They also want the Writers Guild waiver. They also want all documents in possession of each Wayfair party, even if it's already produced by someone else. It needs to come directly from each single person. So if like Melissa Nathan already gave it, that's too bad. Justin Baldoni also has to give it too, as well as a privileged log item. So they want the privileged log item. They can't just say, oh, you can't have this communication because it's attorney-client privilege. You have to have a privilege log of everything and in detail. So they need to show a privilege log, as well as fixing all the improper redactions. I guess there is a lot of things that were redacted that shouldn't have been redacted. The deadline for this is September 2nd, 2025. What I thought was interesting about this, however, is finally the judge has put a stop to the freaking smear campaign ongoing to the present. Everything's to the present. Let's look at that. So it does say here that Lively also moves to compel the Wayfair parties to produce responsive materials that post-date December 20th. The Wayfair parties produce documents only through December 20th, the date that Lively filed her CRD complaint. The Wayfair parties argue that a request for documents to present would be overbroad and burdensome, and the obligation is disproportionate to that on Lively, who produced documents only through December 31st. And that a more reasonable cutoff would be February 18th, the date of the filing of Lively's amended complaint in this action. The Wayfair parties also object to Lively's requested that they produce a privilege log for documents. But anyway, they got the privilege log. The court has previously addressed whether Lively is entitled to certain discovery post-dating December 20th, 2024. In response to an interrogatory requesting that the Wayfair parties identify all reporters and news or media outlets of any kind with whom you have communicated in any manner concerning Miss Lively, Mr. Reynolds, the CRD complaint, the actions, or the Lively Reynolds companies, the Wayfair parties agreed to provide responses only through December 21st. The court rejected that limitation, noting that the Wayfair parties' engagement with media outlets after the release of the CRD complaint is relevant to the truth or falsity of the smear campaign allegations. The court likewise ordered non-parties Catherine Case and Brandon Kozlos to produce documents regarding Lively and her claim, the film, and the digital campaign post-dating December 20th, 2024. The same reasoning applies here. The court eschews a rigid December 20th, 2024 cutoff deadline given the nature of Lively's claims and the likely relevance of at least some materials post-dating the filing of her CRD complaint. And they talk about why she's allowed to get the complaints, which I think is wild because the judge is saying that any complaints made, even not sexual in nature, should help Lively and are relevant to her case. Whatever. But then it comes down to here that it says, that brings up the second question. Through what date are these materials discoverable? Lively seeks discovery through the present. That is for the approximately 9 months since she filed her CRD complaint. The Wayfair parties respond that if extended discovery is permissible, the cutoff date should be February 18th, when Lively filed her amended complaint. Based on consideration of relevance, overbreadth, and proportionality, the court deems the Wayfair parties' proposed cutoff date more appropriate. Although, as previously explained, the materials detailed above are relevant to Lively's claims, including beyond December 20th, their relevance diminishes over time with greater distance from the underlying allegations in the complaint. Moreover, the further in time the documents are from the allegations in the complaint, the more likely they are to pertain to this litigation itself. Simply put, Lively's allegations of ongoing harm justify certain extensions of the discovery window, but without more, they cannot justify perpetual discovery, especially given the potential that her allegations regarding a smear campaign overlap with advocacy related to her underlying suit. Given that the likely relevance of these materials decreases over time, the proportionality and tailoring of Lively's requests do as well. Requiring the Wayfair parties to produce documents for the last 9 months would not only be burdensome, but likely sweep in extraneous materials outside the core allegations in this suit. Yeah, do you think? There's other things in this document too, like search terms. So I guess there was emails and texts turned over from third parties that the Wayfair didn't turn over. So they said like they didn't have it. They turned over everything. So the court has ordered Wayfair to disclose the search terms, which they used to review the documents, as well as they did reject. I remember the Wayfair people were like, hey, we'll turn over documents past December 20th. That Blake Lively does too, which she hasn't. She stopped at December 31st, which was our first lawsuit against her. So we stopped at her first lawsuit against us. Well, the judge definitely did not like that. He rejected that whole reciprocal thing that like, hey, if you do it, we'll do it, you know. They also want all of the messages from Signal. Again, this whole like secret texting app, the secret. It is a secret app, but it's called Signal. So I guess the Wayfair people were like, it's too early and too premature to ask us for that. The judge disagreed as well. He said it clearly says communications. So you're going to have to turn those over. You have to produce any relevant Signal messages, like whether, I don't know, who knows if they have them or not. And then I thought the interesting part was, again, with Brian Freeman and his entire law firm. She asked for documents, communications from Wayfair's agents, which include Brian Freeman and his firm. The court ruled that the attorney files are within Wayfair's possession, custody, or control because clients have the practical ability to obtain them, and he ordered Wayfair to request their client file from Freeman and Liner and produce responsive communications. That is absolutely wild bananas. I don't know why they have to produce a single freaking thing that has to do with their communications with their lawyer. So this was a huge win for Blake Lively. Like, honestly, she pretty much got everything that she was asking for, except for, you know, the cutoff date being now. It is official. The cutoff date to this ongoing present smear campaign will be February 18th. This was a bummer because honestly, it gives her such a broad range of everything. Now she can have everything like HR complaints, Brian Freeman's role and his communications and Signal messages, and like, oh my gosh, I think this is absolutely nuts. You know what else I think is absolutely nuts? Subpoenaing a private investigation firm, which all lawyers use. Blake Lively, you hired B613, Mr. Shapiro on your side. Every law firm uses private investigators, and this private investigator is called Sourced Intelligence. It is an intelligence reputation management cyber security firm based in Los Angeles. The uniquely qualified Sourced Intelligence team is comprised of former U.S. Special Operations Forces, Marine Corps, Secret Service, law enforcement, and intelligent community veterans. With over 120 years combined experience and armed with the latest in cutting-edge techniques and technology, our mission is to mitigate our clients' risk interest on all levels, from digital to physical. Source proudly serves both the public and private sectors, sharing our expertise with those who need it most. Blake Lively subpoenaing a private investigation firm that was only hired late December after she filed her litigation. After she started litigation, Brian Friedman and their firm hired PIs, which most law firms do. It is not any different than Blake Lively hiring B613, Mr. Shapiro. And I think it was all to find out where the heck the subpoenas came from Van Zandt, right? Because all of a sudden they have all of these text messages from phones that they had no right having. So, of course, the private investigator agency, the intelligence source, is fighting the subpoena, and Blake Lively wants to get it transferred to the Southern District of New York. I thought this was one of the most interesting moves done, because it's like, it's just so strange that she's now going after the private investigating firm. Like, I mean, I swear to God, she's just going after everybody and anything she can. But basically, it just says, in connection with sexual harassment she and others experienced while filming the movie It Ends With Us, and subsequent retaliation designed to bury her for speaking out. Goes into all of the background of the why we're here right now. But Ms. Lively alleges that she and other employees, cast and crew of the film, were the subject of unwelcome and inappropriate behavior by Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath during production of the film. Since the Lively action began, Ms. Lively had issued substantial discovery to uncover the tracks of this no fingerprints campaign by identifying and obtaining evidence from the Wayfair Party's network of agents. Should they make them sound like this huge, like, ring conspirators, like ringleaders of this big conspiracy to, like, really get Blake Lively? Like, oh my gosh, it's so crazy. I think what it really is because Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are such monsters, and they do such shady, dark, immoral, unethical, illegal stuff with their lawyers doing it for them as well, that they just suspect that everyone else is doing the exact same thing, in my opinion. That's what I think, honestly. Anyway, so, yeah, they've subpoenaed anyone, their whole network of agents who have participated or are currently participating in the campaign. One of these agents may be Sourced Intelligence, LLC, a private intelligence and consulting firm, counsel for Sourced Intelligence, Liner, Freeman, Tailman, and Cooley, LLP, which notably is the same law firm that represents all the Wayfair parties. Ooh. Admits that Source Intelligence was in direct contact with Brian Freeman, one of Liner's named partners and the lead attorney for the Wayfair parties, whose intimate involvement in the underlying dispute appears in the pleaded allegations. In January 2025, and ran reports for the Wayfair parties in connection with this litigation. Sourced intelligence documents and communications are plainly relevant to this action, aside from it's just so nuts. Aside from conceitedly working with Liner for the benefit of the Wayfair parties and now being represented by them, Source Intelligence publicly markets itself as an expert in reputation management with a specialty in digital erasure, including wiping metadata and official documents from online. Source Intelligence also claims expertise in scanning all corners of the web, providing a tailored action plan to mitigate critical vulnerability and exposures discovered, and scanning the furthest reaches of the internet, including the deep, dark web, allowing clients to stay one step ahead of their adversaries. To date, Source Intelligence has not denied that it was retained to provide services to the Wayfair parties or that it communicated directly with Liner about reports it ran for the Wayfair parties. Even so, Source Intelligence, through the Liner firm, has refused to provide any information about what kind of information is in its mystery reports. My gosh. And then in the footnote here, it says, Ms. Lively is seeking documents and communications from Source Intelligence regarding the services it was retained to provide to the Wayfair parties, and such documents would include communications from the Liner firm as agents of the Wayfair parties. This is absolutely, guys, bonkers. Bonkers nuts. Source Intelligence served responses and objections to the subpoena. So they're saying they were trying to go back and forth, and basically Source Intelligence was like, no, it's overbroad and it's completely attorney-client privilege and work product doctrine, which it 100% is. But it refused to provide even a privilege log to Ms. Lively so that she can better understand the assertion of the privilege. It's none of your business, okay? Like, this is crazy. This is their PIs. And this was after she started litigation. I thought we're all talking about the smear campaign from August. Isn't that where it started? They have every right to use every resource to defend themselves, but because Blake Lively is crying that it's ongoing and it's ongoing and it's ongoing all the way to the present, that's why she's like, well, I get to have this because it's ongoing. So, and Brian Freeman is the leader. So I want all of your communications. And they say that they did confer in good faith. Yeah, they tried to confer between Lively's counsel and Source Intelligence to resolve this dispute, but Source Intelligence had categorically refused to produce a single document or provide a privilege log, insisting that Ms. Lively accept its counsel's representations, that any opportunity to investigate and confirm those representations. Ms. Lively alleges that the retaliation is ongoing and thus the discovery period should likewise be ongoing. Liner asserts that all of Source Intelligence documents were created after Ms. Lively's initiated litigation in December of 2024 and thus irrelevant, privileged, and or reflect attorney work product. Source Intelligence is wrong and has left the parties with no other option but to seek judicial intervention. Then they're really asking for it to get transferred to the Southern District of New York. They use like everything that they can to say that it should get transferred. And additionally, they would like it expedited consideration in order to meet all of the deadlines. Oh my gosh. Lively essentially argues that she may utilize third-party subpoenas to invade the attorney-client privilege and work product doctrine related to Source Intelligence post-filing communications with counsel and its work product simply because she has alleged ongoing retaliation. So this is the response from Source Intelligence introductory statement to this crazy subpoena. The productions afforded by the attorney-client privilege and work product doctrine are not so easily pierced. Source Intelligence performed investigative services for Wayfair at the direction of counsel and prepared reports based on the results of its investigation. It did not perform any work related to a digital campaign as defined by the subpoena, nor did it perform services such as a social media monitoring, influence operations, digital erasure, or web monitoring identified as relevant services by Lively. While Lively asserts that Source Intelligence may be a Wayfair agent participating in an ongoing retaliation campaign, she fails to identify a single piece of evidence that indicates Source Intelligence performed or was asked to perform any such services for Wayfair or its counsel, nor could she, given that Source Intelligence is not and has never been involved in any work that could be construed as part of a retaliation campaign. Although Source Intelligence has told this to Lively, she apparently does not believe the representations. However, the attached declaration of Alexander Fiel should end Lively's impermissible fishing expedition seeking privileged information. And it keeps going and going like that between Blake and the Source Intelligence, and they either want it, Blake Lively has asked for it, one, to either be transferred to the Southern District of New York, or two, to just have them compel them right away and give her every single thing. OMG, Blake. And they are not the only ones fighting these crazy subpoenas. So is Popcorn Planet. Andy Signor is fighting hard. He is going at it, and there is some motion here. So they did have responses and declarations that are written really good. Blake Lively is trying to say that he's just a content creator, he's not a journalist, etc., etc., etc. It's absolutely nuts. So they are totally fighting, and I hope that there is some resolve soon for them and they're also able to get this subpoena completely quashed. And before we get into your comments, let's just go over some Blake Lively deposition, shall we? Because, oh my gosh. First of all, liar, liar, pants on fire. But there is some other things to talk about Let's just talk about already how Ezra Hudson and Brian Freeman just don't like each other. It's right at the beginning. I thought it was kind of cute to just bring up. Ezra Hudson right away just says, Counsel, before we get started, can we agree that the standard stipulation under this Rule 33 will be applied to this case? Brian Freeman says, we can certainly talk about that during the break. Ezra Hudson says, well, that's all objections except to the form of the questions are reserved for trial. Brian Freeman says, I understand that. I'm happy to talk about it while we're off the record. Ezra Hudson says, well, Brian Freeman says, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Ezra says, okay, we can agree though. That's what the rule will apply. Brian Freeman says, we can definitely agree that we can talk about it for sure, but I want to talk to my co-counsel. Then Ezra says, that's the rule that I'll be functioning under the course of the deposition, unless you disagree. He just says, okay. Like, well, I already told you that we're going to be talking about it on the break, okay? Like, what? Get out of here. And then they do say, like, straight after she does say, I also wanted to note for the record that per the protective order in this case, we're designating Miss Lively's entire deposition transcript and video, including all testimony and exhibits, as confidential. And that's kind of funny because then they didn't. I mean, they released that little, like, snippet of it, but the rest was completely confidential. And remember, she had a whole meltdown about it. And already the internet sleuths, and you don't have to look very hard to find out that she lied straight away when it says you agreed to play the role of Lily Bloom in It Ends With Us at the end of 2022. Is that correct? Blake says yes. Then they say, prior to that time, have you heard about the book with the same title? She says, prior to agreeing? Yes. Then she says, yes. Yes, she did. That's very interesting. And it doesn't take too long of a Google search and a YouTube search to find the interview that Blake Lively said that she didn't know the books to. And let me see if I could just find it really quick right now, like super quick, because I know I've seen it. If you haven't watched this unhinged, complete, total train wreck of an interview with Blake Lively before, it's something, because she acts like she completely made the movie, and it's just an absolutely nutty thing. But right at the beginning,
I feel like I lived under a rock because I hadn't heard of Colleen Hoover before. I feel like I lived under a rock because I hadn't heard of Colleen Hoover before. They came to me with this movie, but the person that I was in the car with, Eden, when the gentleman I work with, Warren, called me and said, hey, you know, they're interested in you playing this character. Do you know Colleen Hoover and her books? And Eden shrieked. She's 25 years old. And I thought, oh, that's so interesting that a 25-year-old who has access to every bit of information possible, everything you get on social media apps, all the streaming, all the optionality, you know, here's this name of this writer that cut through. That was interesting to me because, like, you know, in older generations, you know, everybody was listening to the same radio shows, you know, watching the same 30 channels. So now when the whole world is open to you, for a name to cut through like that to a younger generation really made me perk up. And then when he said the name of the book, she's like shrieked. And I was like, are you a fan of this book? She was like, I've read her other books. I don't know that book, but that is the book that all of my friends are obsessed with. Everyone knows that. So she hadn't even read the book, but she shrieked when she heard the name.
And that wasn't the only time that Blake Lively had admitted to not knowing Colleen Hoover, not knowing the book, not reading it. But right here, the first question, prior to that time, had you heard about the book with the same title? Prior to agreeing? Yes. But that's a lie. You literally just did an interview that you said that you had no idea. We move on. Anyway, I want to get to the Steve Sarowitz quote here because what? And this was obviously coming from Jed Wallace because he was saying like she can't prove anything on social media. She can't point to a single post on social media that Jed did or that anyone did, which is like, why are we here? Why? Okay. Even here, before we even get to the Steve Sarowitz thing, but even here where it says, do you know what astroturfing is? Astroturfing, which is The exact same, this is what her whole thing is based off, is that they were astroturfing. She says, my understanding of astroturfing is when a conversation or sentiment is inorganic, and unlike a grassroots marketing campaign, it is fake in that it is a sentiment that is where there is a particular person, group, or organization behind it. But everything was organic. I mean, yeah, they maybe boosted comments, or they boosted more pro-Justin stuff. It's just so crazy. I mean, this whole thing is nuts. And then off of the astroturfing, the question is, and you say in this complaint that the coordinated astroturfing campaign is to discredit and bury Miss Lively. What do you mean by bury you? The astroturfing campaign was meant to bury you? Ezra Hudson says objection. She says objection to everything, by the way, but do you know what that means? What is meant by that? Objection. I do, Blake answers. And what is meant by that? They were descriptives that were used by Justin Baldoni, Jennifer Abel, and Melissa Nathan. The term bury. He wants to feel like he can be buried, or she can be buried. Okay, and Melissa Nathan said we can bury her. Okay, so that's why the word was chosen. And they say this might seem like a silly question, but you didn't take that to mean like they were physically going to bury you. Just they were going to reputationally bury you. Is that how you took it or not? When they said that, I felt reputationally. When Steve Sarowitz said that there would be 2 dead bodies by the time that he was done with us, yeah, I considered that might be literal. You thought you might be in physical jeopardy. You, as a mother, you feel like anything could be possible in those moments. It's terrifying. Yeah, putting aside the physical jeopardy, was there a reference to burying and 2 dead bodies inclusive of reputational injury or not? Then Ezra Hudson says objection, and she says, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. So that's what she's saying, the 2 dead bodies comment. Steve Sarowitz said that, and then they go, so that was on page 267, and then over at 274, they're asking about Brian Freeman and his harmful statements. My understanding is that Mr. Freeman's harmful statement started as soon as the first case started, which would be mine, so of December 2024. Then they say, okay, the premiere of It Ends With Us, the film, was on August 6th. Is that right? I don't know the exact date, but that sounds correct. You don't know the exact date? You don't know the exact date of the premiere? I'm done. I'm done with this. And let's just look quickly before we get to your comments. We're getting there. It's next. This is Blake Lively's second amended complaint filed on July 30th. This was her newest and latest effort here, July 30th of 2025. And let's just see what the comment was that is, I mean, it's completely hearsay, number one. I mean, where is the person that told you that he said that? Is that even true or not? Who knows? But it says here, I will protect the studio like isn't real, protected itself from Hamas. There were 39,000 dead bodies. There will be 2 dead bodies when I'm done. Minimum. Not dead, but you're dead to me. So that kind of dead. But dead to a lot of people if they ever get me to that point. Then I'll make it worth their while because I'm going to spend a lot of money to make sure the studio is protected. So if he said that, I mean, that sounds like a lot to remember that somebody said to you so specifically. But it literally even says, not dead, but you're dead to me. So again, that is literally made up. That's BS. In her own amended complaint, it says, not dead, but you're dead to me. And then in her deposition, talking about how she was so scared that he was going, okay. At this point, we have severely lost the plot. Blake and Ryan are just burning it all to the ground. I don't know. At this point, somebody needs to, like her lawyers, just making money. Because it's absolutely crazy. They still don't have any evidence. They still can't prove nothing. Subpoenaing private investigators now. Everybody. If you ever talk to Brian Freeman or Justin Baldoni, you're getting a subpoena. It's absolutely bonkers. And the fact that she can sit up in her deposition and bold-faced lie, that's nuts. And without any further ado, some of your comments from the week. Thank you for commenting and being part of this channel. I absolutely love it. So we are going to start here with a comment from Heather Crezier 2639. I saw an article about how shady Blake's hair care line was made. Lied about the ingredients, about the amount of harmful chemicals, how she cheaped out. Products are not organic or natural. Haven't heard anyone talk about that. Anyone else see this? Yes, I did see this when it launched. I saw a lot of creators posting. I mean, they were talking to me because it showed up on my FYP, but talking about how they returned the products, how it fried their hair, how it wasn't good at all. So that probably didn't help with her sales and stuff. That had nothing to do with the Wayfair people. That was actual customers returning products. And I bet Wayfair will have that to show them, or they should use a lot of that in court too, that like, hey, we didn't blow up Blake Brown, like you have a bad product. Madison 90210 says, isn't it hearsay to Blake whatever Sarowitz said to a third party? She has to prove it was indeed said, and by whom, instead of accusing and asking for all his personal information. I absolutely agree. So far, Blake's entire thing is just hearsay. I mean, she hasn't provided zero evidence. Nothing yet. Nothing so far, and still can't. And even though people, the other cast and crew who she said are ready, able, and willing to come forward, Isabel Ferrer doesn't even want to accept a friggin' subpoena. This is from Reggie For Real. Says, I know the focus is Blake Lively, but can you imagine what Justin Baldoni had to put up with while trying to get his movie completed? If he didn't have the receipts, he would have been toast. Absolutely. I couldn't ever imagine. I mean, I can't even deal with being in the same room with someone who's as narcissistic and crazy as Blake Lively. I can't even deal. I wouldn't, no way. Oh my God. I couldn't ever imagine what they had to go through every day on set with this woman. Oh, no, thank you. This is from Stray Kids Stay 18. You're so right, Mandy. They're complete hypocrites. They have done everything they accuse Justin of. A smear campaign against Justin Baldoni, retaliation, media manipulation, probably buying CC and media, using the court for PR, using bots, etc., etc., etc. A lot of people even think that Blake Lively SH Justin. Well, I mean, no teeth Lively. We all saw that video of her sucking on that man's lip. Okay. Tatiana Michelniato 9737. I'm so sorry, but you get a twofer, babes. Okay, 2 for 1, because they both popped up at the same time, and it says, oh my, concrete evidence. Really? Where? It hasn't been shown, produced. Their shady lawyers a bully libelous and have lost their marbles. Team Delulu is also delusional. And then she likes to scream out, Van Zandt, Van Zandt, Van Zandt. And it's the shadiest lawsuit to 10 John Does to illegally obtain the phone from Jen Abel's messages. Yes, I agreed with everything you had to say. It's absolutely delusional. And Van Zandt all the way. And Stephanie motherfucking Jones, we ain't done with you yet, girl. Okay, we want answers. We want answers why you so freely turned over these records to a sham subpoena that you easily could have fought and or just produced to the Wayfair people so they could have fought it themselves. You're wrong, girl. You're wrong for that. Kathy I can get this one. Kathy Valenzuela 2302 said, you got it all. Women did not like Blake Lively representing them because of her behavior. Women spoke up about how disgusting this was organically. Yes, we didn't need no man to do it. We didn't need to be forced or paid or bought or nothing, okay? We saw her own actions and her husband's. Call NJ-C1H says, they're all trying to get Freeman thrown off the case because they know they have nothing, proof. But with Freeman gone, they can manipulate the case to their favor. Freeman is just too good. Brilliant for them to handle. Absolutely. They're trying everything they can to get Freeman out of here. But he is ready to take you and your husband down, as well as WME, as well as everyone else. He had the gulls to go and fight the New York Times, Leslie Sloan, Stephanie Jones, and everybody else. And Ryan, I don't think they are done with you yet. Alexander-M2U says, I think Taylor Swift believed her at the beginning, but she realizes that she was lying, so she distanced herself. Taylor is a girl's girl. Weaponizing Me Too is gross and disgusting. Yeah, I think there was probably, you know, some discussions with them, or maybe Blake just wanted it to be the best movie ever and was like really undermining Justin and Wayfair to Taylor Swift. And then once it all came out about everything that actually Blake was doing, not good. I mean, that will all come out, I hope, and we'll find out all of the information we need that happened with Tay Swizzy. At Tina Maria 9772 said, loves your coverage of all this insanity, Mandy. I think at this point it's pretty obvious Blake Lively has nothing. I don't know where they expect this to go. She claims she doesn't read anything about herself, yet there's a smear campaign and retaliation. I'd love to know who is the one who's telling her all of this stuff. Notice how she skirted that question. Also, I find it absolutely disgusting that Blake Lively's side constantly lies in public statements to the press and even in court documents. From the content creator stuff to trying to paint Justin Baldoni with the same brush as some of the worst abusers out there. Nowhere in anything I read did she was asking for it. Look at what she was wearing. BS ever happen. I completely agree. They're really trying to paint Wayfair and Justin Baldoni as the worst of the worst of the worst. And have you guys seen the movie? There's not that much sex in it. There's not much violent scenes. It's not even grotesque. It's very vanilla, really, to all of it. If you ask me, like, this wasn't Baby Girl or something. I mean, I've seen the movie. The most intense scene was between Ryle and Atlas when they got into a fight at the restaurant. I didn't see, I mean, the fact that we're all here right now because Blake, anyway, that's all I'm going to say. I can't believe all of this over a movie that barely had I mean, the nudity, all of that stuff there was with Blake. No, but she wanted control of even everyone, you know? And last but not least, Miss Ellie Man LM says, could agree more with the statement that Isabel Ferreira was hired to play young Lily, not young Blake Lively. I think Blake Lively was morphing the character Lily to be real life Blake Lively. She literally had Isabel follow suit, you know, you're the minor who has taken advantage of. Yeah, I mean, even in the thing to say like, oh, a young minor, but Isabel's an adult. Her character was a minor, and it was not, the way it was worded was very distasteful to me too. And for her to even, Blake Lively, to ask for control over scenes that are shot with other actresses is nuts. And that's it, guys. Thank you so much. I hope you're having the most amazing weekend. Sorry I couldn't drop this yesterday on Friday. However, I woke up with a doozy of a migraine, and even once it left me around like 6 o'clock at night, I was out of it. I think I slept yesterday like 20 hours out of the last 24 hours, I swear. But I rested, and it allowed me to see in real time like everything that was going on and what's been popping and happening. But yeah, I'm feeling better. I feel 100%, you know, it was just one of those things that happened. But I hope you're having the most amazing day. Thank you so much for all of your comments and all of your engagement. I absolutely adore it. The membership is now open. It's at like the lowest tier, so it's not very expensive per month, but there is going to be a little bit more, you know, spicy, off the rails, a little bit no filtered. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of motivational and inspirational and empowering things there, and a lot of lessons and story times and all of that goodness will be in the memberships channel. So I just want to say thank you so much. Please drop your comments about anything that you saw in this video or anything that you're seeing, whatever it is, and I'll talk to you soon. I love you. Bye.